esteemed professors, distinguished participants, dear friends. It is with gladness that we accepted the kind invitation to deliver a message at this first open session of the International Conference Islam and Human Rights in the European Union, co-organized by the European Consortium for Church and State Research and the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. Despite the fact that we were unable to be physically present among you this morning, the means of modern technology have made it possible for us to virtually deliver this address with the same joy and honor, we can assure you, as if we were in your midst. We would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the organizers of this conference, especially Professor Mark Hill, QC, acting president of the consortium, and Associate Professor Lina Papadopoulou, director of the Jean Monnet Center of Excellence, European Constitutionalism and Religions, with their colleagues, because in such a challenging year, they have shown us all a great example of how not to be downcast by our tribulations, but instead to take courage and find ways of turning them into opportunities for research, creativity, and academic productivity. We pray to the Father of Lights to illuminate and guide the members of the consortium of this unique network of Europe's leading scholars in church and state research as they resume their significant work after the trial of the coronavirus. The ongoing pandemic has proved the vitality of the continuation of the consortium's notable contribution in this particular field, as both state and churches still cope with the health crisis and its ramifications. For this reason, we find it most fitting that this first conference of the consortium in the COVID-19 era is dedicated to the memory of one of the consortium's founding members and most prominent experts in church-state relations, the late Professor Charalambos Papastathis. We had the privilege to know Professor Papastathis since our early postdoctoral years and to appreciate his thoroughness and thoughtfulness, as well as his humility and generosity of heart. With Charalambos, we shared not only the same age, nor just our love for ecclesiastical and canon law, but above all our commitment to the defense and promotion of the canonically prescribed and sanctified through the centuries-old practice of the Church, responsibilities of the ecumenical throne, which Professor Papastathis safeguarded with an unwavering commitment, not simply through his scholarship, especially in the field of Mount Athos law, but equally as Archon Nomophylax of the Holy Great Church of Christ. May God give rest to his soul with the righteous, and may his memory be eternal before God. We are certain that his presence and scientific contribution shall be long-lasting, not only because his extensive scholarship adorns the shelves of prominent legal libraries around the world, but also because the love, admiration, and respect of his many students remain alive as the organization of this conference aptly testifies. And despite the fact that Professor Papastathis was not a specialist in Islamic law, we believe that he would rejoice with the general topic of this conference, because the issue of the relation between Islam and human rights, or more broadly, religion and human rights, goes to the heart of the question of the relationship between religion and law. We are cognizant of the critique often levied against religions that, despite their contribution to the modern human rights revolution, with many religious ideas to act as sources of inspiration for the trinity of liberté, égalité, fraternité, their internal policies and external advocacy have often propagated fundamentalism, intolerance, and violence, while their sacred texts know only the language of commandments and prohibitions without highlighting the dimension of individual rights and freedom. We don't deny the reality that religion has a formidable force, capable of both good and evil. Nevertheless, the proper response to the atrocities that have been made in the name of religion should not be its ostracism to the private sphere as a mere scaffolding that was used once for the erection of the edifice of the human rights, and since now has outlived its purpose. It should be demolished in order not to obstruct any longer the majestic view of these rights' enjoyment. To the contrary, religions should be invited to cultivate their virtues through a process of re-engaging the regime of human rights, not as a Trojan horse, bearing secular ideas imposed on them from without, but by being open from within to fresh methods of interpretation of their sacred texts that will allow them to reassume their traditional patronage of human rights. The goal will be not the creation of a religious construction of the human rights, but the reclaim from the religious communities of their legitimate contribution to the secular human rights dialogue in a non-monopolistic fashion and with a listening and prayerful heart that will simultaneously nurture and challenge the human rights regime. Therefore, not only religions are in need of human rights, but the latter also need religions. First, the right to religion is considered as the mother of many other individual and associational rights. Please do not understand this phrase in a corporatist sense, as if made by a trade union leader concerned about his members' benefits. The point here is that for both the religious individual and the religious association, from the right to religion flows a series of other depending rights. In no case, believers should be forced to suppress a part of themselves, their faith, in order to enjoy these rights. Moreover, indeed, the religious sacred texts contain many obligations, but these obligations are those prophetic voices needed in order to prevent the rights from becoming mere libertarian claims of self-indulgence. Last but not least, As the recent economic crisis and the ongoing pandemic has shown, the state cannot serve as the sole guarantor of human rights. The various faith traditions can and should contribute to the development, deepening, and realization of these rights. In short, all of us, religious and civic communities, are invited to perceive the relationship between human rights and religion, or, if you prefer, more broadly, between law and religion, as two communicating vessels, synginonunda dοχεία, with the one being in constant need of the other. We sincerely hope that the conference proceedings will significantly contribute to the further clarification and elaboration of this relationship. With these thoughts in mind, we wish you thoughtful deliberations and productive outcomes, which we look forward to reading in print, in continuation of the Consortium's praiseworthy practice of publishing the proceedings of the past conferences, with the goal of reaching the widest possible audience. May the grace and the rich mercies of the God of righteousness be with all of you, and thank you very much for your kind attention.